Hello, everybody, and welcome. I am actually starting class over because I had so many stupid interruptions this morning from difficulties with my internet connections and various different demonic and satanic interruptions that I am simply deciding to wipe the slate clean and start over again. I'm smiling not because I am an oblivious idiot, because I smile in the face of adversity. Let us move forward. Fantastic. So yes, I just restarted my internet. I'm actually on my phone now. We did a bunch of vocal toning and we are starting anew. Welcome. This is the level 2 recording. Last week I did the level 1 recording. This is about lesson 6. And if you sense that my energy feels agitated, I am agitated. This is about the sun, DNA, light, and interdimensional ethics. So to recap, and thank you for everyone who has been bearing with me all in this half hour of trying to get my internet connection stable and hopping in and out of my various Zoom rooms while they were collapsing. The sun and interdimensional ethics. Last week, I spoke at length about the sun as an emanator of consciousness, about how it does not just emit dead, stupid photons or little pieces of light that you can use to collect in a solar collector or that can bounce into your eye, but that the sun is an awareness portal, that it contains and emanates pieces of light that come to us from the supermassive black hole, which is an amazing coherency of consciousness at the center of our galaxy, that the sun and the stars are broadcasters or portals for light. I went through the entire life cycle of a star in terms of its coalescence, continuation, and emanation, and then eventual collapse into a black hole. And the concept that death is not the end, a black hole is not the end, the reversal of time and emanations that were sent outward into the sun as its own singularity point. So all of this is recap, and all of this is re-emphasis in terms of the singularity or singularity, just the word, as I'm talking about it and describing this convergence point within this sculpture, which is also analogous to the convergence point that you see in all of my anatomical drawings and paintings. Let's go to a video. So not a video. I say that because of football. They say, let's go to the videotape. Let's go to the share screen and let's go to a picture and I will show you. This is, of course, your toroidal energy system or chakra system. And here we show it in its non-nested or deconstructed version, where you can see each of these individual convergence points, each of which is singularity or the singularity. And you have a toroidal energy field. Toroidal means donut-shaped energy field around you. Earth's magnetosphere, measurable by science, also toroidal shaped. The sun's heliosphere, also observable and measurable to science, objective materialist science, as I was talking about last week, and Sir Isaac Newton and all of that. Earth's magnetosphere and the sun's heliosphere are both electromagnetic phenomena that have to do with electromagnetism and the spectrum of light and the phenomenon of light. However, they are also about consciousness, pure consciousness. There is an interplay between Earth's magnetic field or Earth's field of consciousness and the sun's field of consciousness. The sun emanates not only energies, particles, forms of consciousness, and you can always replace the word consciousness with light, but also possibilities, probabilities, and timelines. That's big. The sun is a time object. The energy body of coherent light that surrounds you is a time object. Today, I'm going to get into a lot of flying rainbow lasagna, which is also a time object. If I have a very intense look on my face right now, it is because I am concentrating an enormous amount because I am under so much demonic and energetic attack. You have no idea. While I am trying to say these very basic things, the demons are really going at me right now. Just have to call that out unabashedly. We will sally forth. On the physical level, the magnetic fields of Earth and the sun interact. And this is measurable by science and observable by science. Yourself as an individual connecting and interacting with the Earth and with the mutual connection between the Earth and the sun. So basically all three of these time objects have at their center or various centers singularity or the singularity. You have one inside of you. Look, I have one on my shirt. You have one inside of you. Singularity, a connection to infinity. The sun has a connection to infinity. The earth has a connection to infinity. These are three different doorways that all lead to the same infinity. Three different doorways that all lead to the same cosmic room. Three different doorways that lead to the same interdimensional point of overlapping interconnectivity of all timelines everywhere. The connection from the sun to your DNA is what we are going to be talking about right now. And we are going to be talking about how the sun, so last week or 2 weeks ago, we did the concept of the sun as a portal to higher consciousness states. That there is a great thinker in the sky, that there's a great, enormous, supermassive black hole that is a very, very highly intelligent object at the center of our galaxy that holds everything and everyone together in terms of these stars. Think of it as the conductor of this particular orchestra. This one philharmonic called our galaxy is held together by the supermassive black hole that's at the center of our galaxy. Of course, there is a great conductor that is conducting all of these philharmonics into an enormous interwoven symphony across time. The conductor of our philharmonic at the center of our galaxy, that supermassive black hole, broadcasts outward its consciousness emanation waves in a nonlinear sense by folding time, space, and consciousness. I won't jump up to get my little scarf, but you know, my magical scarf that I bring out, that I say we fold it together so that we make point A and point B touch together with no linear space in between, sends out those broadcasts to where we are here on the far periphery of this, the galaxy where our solar system is, and that these consciousnesses are then emanated from and broadcast from our sun star. And then they come inside of us. And the sun is actually not 93 million miles away. It is 0 miles away because you have a singularity inside of you, and the sun has a singularity inside of it, and the earth has singularity inside of it, her, she, they, it, whatever pronouns we are using for these things these days. And every molecule and every atom has singularity inside of it, and your DNA, we're getting to supercoiling today, I will show you some pictures of supercoiling, also has the singularity at the side of it, inside of it, and there is zero distance between all of these objects that have singularity inside of them. This is not my image. I did not create it, but I'm using it to highlight what is supercoiling. Here you can see actual picture of DNA. You can see how it begins as one strand that would be considered a linear strand or like a yarn, wraps around histones, becomes these toroidal structures that then stack up like a stack of donuts. And then those stacks of donuts stack up into more complex levels of coiling. This is actually even a simplification. And that then ends up being stacked up into a tightly coiled chromosomal structure. I'm going to show you one more nice little picture because it's so nice to talk with pictures. So that was a relatively simplified version. This is actually from a scanning electron microscope, but then with some human interpretation and artistry added. But you can see where I'm rotating my cursor along here. That is, those are actual one strand of DNA, and that these blobs that this DNA is wrapped around are these protein formations that are called histones, just to give you an idea of what is happening at the very, very microscopic level of your nuclei. And we'll talk about the DNA flying rainbow lasagna dance. We're finally getting there. This is why I've been getting so much interference in my transmission, my ability to communicate this to you today. At the center of every one of these toroidal structures, there is singularity. So I'm trying to get forward to you the communication that you have not just one, like I have one singularity here in my heart or in the center of my chakras or something like that. You have trillions of cells. Inside of each one of the trillions of your cells is a nucleus. Inside of your nucleus is your DNA structure. And inside of each nucleus of your DNA structure, you have trillions of singularity structures. You have many, 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 an almost uncountable number to our neurology, doorways to infinity that are a part of what your physicality body is like. So right now we're getting into the teaching of your physicality body as a bridge or a structure between the world of pure possibilities, the world of pure light, the world of pure consciousness, the world of non-physicality, and the world of physicality. You guys are all very smart. Many of you have been in my class for a very long amount of time. What does the Flying Rainbow Lasagna do, class? The Flying Rainbow Lasagna brings together formally divergent realms. It blends together two things that used to have a barrier between them, the inside and the outside. It resolves duality. It brings together light and matter. That is what I was talking about last time we had class, where I said E equals mc squared. That was Einstein's equation. E is over here. My face is the equal sign, the speed of light squared, matter, that's this over here. And what does the Flying Rainbow Lasagna do? It takes these two things that used to be in constant dualistic opposition and it brings them together onto the same side of the equation. But wait, Aurora, you're not allowed to do that. That makes my head explode. That makes the rules of math explode. Stop doing things that make my head explode. I'm being lighthearted because we need some lightheartedness this morning. Why am I doing this? First of all, on this side of the equation, that makes this side of the equation equals infinity. So energy plus matter, E plus mc squared equals infinity. These are no longer in constant dualistic opposition. This is like taking a magnet that has north and south poles and turning it around so that the north and south poles stick together. My joke, what do good waffles do? They stick together and you get a solenoid. You get one resolved, non-dualistic aspect of being. Flying Rainbow Lasagna as one resolved, non-dualistic aspect of being. Boom. Let me move into DNA structure and what DNA is doing inside of you. All right, so I just gave you the concept that your DNA has at its centers many, many multiple doorways to infinity, that this is what the singularity or singularity is, are. Language is difficult at this level. You have all of these structures inside of you on both a light body, pure frequency body level, and also on an observable body level that science can take a microscope and look deep inside of your cells and say, you have, these structures that are inside of you vibrating at this level. Let's talk about what DNA is and what it does in these various different systems of interpretation. My system of interpretation, which is purely about insight, the eye of time, and pure consciousness, and also science, the objective materialist viewpoint, which says we can put this under a microscope or a scanning electron microscope and we can look at this and measure it and see what's going on. First of all, rewind. DNA is not a static object. So when DNA is often shown in basic teachings, like maybe a science class, something that you remember from high school, all the way over here on the right side of your screen, you see a chromosome. And chromosome can be an X shape or a Y shape. And it is often presented that DNA is this static object in X or a Y. It is anything but static. This teaching that I'm giving you right now is the foundation precursor to be able to understanding how to do the Flying Rainbow Lasagna. This is a genetic oscillation. I am an oscillation waveform. Wait, turn on my piano. I turned it off even though I was making music this morning. I am a genetic oscillation that is similar to a song, a musical melody. That's like what I am when I'm not here in a body. I have vibrated and oscillated the strings of this genetic piano in order to represent myself in this level of reality. I am Aurora, I am a waveform. I am not usually in the body of a somatic cellular structure. I am in this somatic cellular structure in order to have and own real estate, have a footprint here, in order to ethically emanate outward my genetic music. So your DNA is not a static object at all. Even before I invented the Flying Rainbow Lasagna in 2001 and came here as an exemplar to be able to be an example and teach you how to be a genetic virtuoso on that level, your DNA has been twisting, moving, backbending, arabesquing, inside outing, doing all these things all the time. It is genetic behavior. So first of all, when science has been understanding and observing DNA up until this point, science has been doing it in a way that is relatively limited because the way that it can perceive is by taking DNA and dissecting it, chopping it up, stopping it from moving, paralyzing it, chopping it up into various different chopped up bits, and then measuring like how many bits of this you have, how many bits of this you have, what are the basic color proportions that you have. It's like saying, I have this many C sharps in the song, and I have this many Ds, and then I have this many Es, and this many A flats in the song, but that is not the song itself. You understand, it is a very reductionist way of understanding what is DNA. Science has also, from the 1950s when DNA was discovered, or late 1940s by humans, DNA being described as merely the expressor or blueprint descriptor of physical characteristics in your body, like whether you have brown eyes, or whether you have what color skin you have, or how many inches tall you are, or very, very basic physical measurable expressions. But DNA is so much more than that. So even before my arrival, your DNA has been doing its own unique genetic dance. Big takeaway, everybody's got their own unique genetic dance. Big takeaway, you are allowed to be here. It is part of the I am presence. It is part of your red chakra. You are allowed to and encouraged to be doing your own unique genetic dance. Again, this is the interdimensional ethical justification for why I am here as Aurora and why I'm allowed to be here as Aurora. Just as, for example, you are allowed to be here as Charlie, or you are allowed to be here as Trish, or you are allowed to be here as Art. That each one of you and all of the many people who are not tuned in, because I know we had connectivity issues today. Anybody who's not tuned in, and forgive me for not saying your name, but I know you're telepathically here. Each one of you has your own unique genetic song that you are playing that is in many ways the distillation from the broad to the specific, the broad being your millions and millions of previous generation ancestors distilled down into your body right now. Your own unique song. Let's play a little different song over here. That's your unique song. And it comes to you largely from your ancestors, also partially from your cultural heritage. What makes DNA dance the way it does? What makes it move the way it does? So you essentially have, just like in a grand piano, you have all of these strings that stick out like the tendons of my arms, right? All of these strings are sticking out. And then in a piano, hammers strike the strings and it makes music. This is an electric piano. But regular pianos have strings, or a violin, a stringed instrument. What makes you vibrate in the particular song that you vibrate? The real reductionist answer is your thoughts and your emotions. Where do those thoughts and emotions come from? Some of them emanate from within you as an individual. Some of them come from your connection to the sun and the stars. Some of them come from the people around you, like your mommy, daddy, people who are alive, people in your life who taught you how to be. Some of it comes from your ancestors, people who are no longer alive in your life, but they taught you how to be indirectly and vibrate from the general to the specific as you are a time object experiencing all of these influences distilled down into your own unique energy signature of who you are right now. All of this backstory in order to say you already have your own unique song. Let's talk about what that song is. How is your apparatus being played? How is your genetic piano being played? And then flying rainbow lasagna as a verb in terms of being a genetic virtuoso and playing your piano in a new and different way. So the idea comes down to supercoiling. So let's go back to the beautiful pictures that I love to share. I guess this is a good picture to share. Supercoiling. You have a string, like that is a string of yarn that is being wound up tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter in circles, in coils. And when it is all coiled up like this into a chromosome, you could consider it to be similar to a scroll, like a papyrus scroll that is all coiled up like this. When a scroll is tightly coiled up, you cannot read the information within it. Basic questions. Why is sometimes my DNA coiled up like a scroll? Why is it sometimes unfurled like this? When it is unfurled into a ball of yarn, it is called chromatin, and that is when the genetic strings can vibrate. When it is coiled up tightly like this, it is called a chromosome, and that is like when you coil up your clothing and put together your socks in little balls and little packages to get it into your carry-on luggage so that you can get on a plane and go someplace. So basically, DNA material is coiled up tightly into scrolls in order to be neat little carryable packages for when your cell does cell division, all right? And that's an important part of the life cycle and lifespan and behavior of your cell. But it's only a very brief portion of your lifetime. Like, you don't spend your whole life with everything that you are packed up in a suitcase. That's just for when you get on the plane or on the bus in order to get to someplace. That your cell only does that during the time that is going to coil itself up so that it can then split itself apart. And then once it does, then it's like, oh, good. Now that I'm here, I can unpack. I can unpack myself a bit. I can unpack all this information and have it available to be read, utilized, and to be influenced and influencing, because we're going to get into this too, your DNA as a genetic antenna, sending and receiving. Supercoiling means adding a ton of energy in terms of twisting something up. So I have, as the supplementary homework video, and I've sent it out before and I can send it out again, lovely videos on supercoiling, which is where you take this one string and keep on twisting it and twisting it and twisting it, and it becomes these more and more greater and greater complex levels of being twisted together until it is almost completely all curled up like this. And then it's really analogous to a spring. A spring is a kinetic energy holding structure. I wanted to say kinetic genetic, and my brain wouldn't connect to my mouth. A kinetic genetic energy holding structure. Springs hold energy. You got it? The springiness of the spring is a way of storing energy inside of it. When you supercoil your DNA on up, you are adding a lot of energy to it. It is then stored as potential energy. There are these little RNA messengers that go along the outside of the DNA, and they read the blueprint. They read the blueprint in your library. Your DNA is your library. It is a pristine environment. Books do not exit the library. The RNA enters the library, reads the blueprint, says, oh, here's what's going on. Here's what I need to do. Makes little copies, like little Xerox photocopies, and then takes it outside of the library in order to actually be the blueprint builders of things that are happening. This is on the physical structure of reality, building physical protein structures. What's happening on the time level is different. But please understand that in order to read the blueprints that are tightly coiled up, what needs to happen in your DNA is that areas of it need to have the tension released. And that happens through a splitting, cutting, snipping, enzymatic, I don't know what the word is for it, but enzymes snip and cut areas of the tightly coiled scrolls of your DNA so that they can then unfurl and be read, because otherwise everything would be tightly coiled up and your RNA messengers would not be able to read it. Brief aside, there are some aspects of your DNA potentials for both physical protein structures and events in reality that you want to be tightly coiled up. Chapters of the book of you that are about how to die horribly, how to achieve diseases, how to have negative experiences. You do not wish to have those pages open and read and the blueprint followed so that you can then manifest those as protein structures or as events in your reality. Like, oh, this is a horrible thing. I don't want this to happen. Keep that tightly coiled up. But let's say that this chapter of you, Tricia says calcified. It's not the same as calcified. Calcified means minerals are added to it, like a pineal gland is calcified when excessive minerals are added to it and it no longer functions. It is more the sense of something being mechanically rolled up. So the scroll that is the blueprint of who you are is mechanically rolled up, tightly coiled, and although the information exists there as a resting potential, it is not released as something that can actually be in reality, that you will not actually have to build that protein structure in your body, be shaped like that, or build that event in your reality. It could be the event of, like I say, getting hit by a Mack truck on the highway, achieving a disease like cancer, or anything that's a negative experience that you don't want to experience. But then let's say that you have a chapter in your book that says, this is how to dismantle a tumor. This is how to be happy and safe and comfortable for a very long amount of time. That's a chapter that you want to read. That's a chapter that you want very easily accessible in the book of you. So what would happen is, as you are, this is the science of epigenetics and the practice of being a genetic virtuoso, to be able to enzymatically snip, relieve tension, open up those areas of the genetic code, have those areas be read, Memory also included. Memory affects genetic behavior, but is not synonymous with genetic behavior. That's big. Thank you. You're asking really good questions. You want to be able to open up those pages that are important, good, desirable pieces of information and then access them. This action of snipping your DNA, uncoiling portions of it, reading it and then recoiling it and joining it back together, these are your genetic dance movements. So even before I arrived and created Flying Rainbow Lasagna, every DNA-bearing organism has been engaged in this behavior that I call a DNA dance, in exactly the same way that you have a waltz or the Watusi or anything that is a particular type of dance, structured harmonic dance movements. That's what music is, structured harmonic sound waves. And my visuals here are structured visual waves. And dance are structured movements that are not just random blah, moving all around in a crazy way. Structured, beautiful movements. So your DNA is constantly doing this movement of unfurling itself, splitting itself apart, cutting itself, weaving itself into reeds, cutting apart those reeds, making those reeds like, circles intertwine like this, making chains, unfurling those chains. It has an enormous amount of behavior. And just as you can understand in the creation of phonetic sound language, because DNA is a type of language, the letters that are next to each other have a significance. The letters A and D spell and. The letters N-A-D or D-A-N spell nad or dan. The order of the letters matter. And also the order of words in a sentence matters in our English language of the United States. I know that other languages are different. The order of the words in a sentence matter. If I say first this word, then this word, then this word, that has a structure and a meaning. And if I rearrange those words, the sentence takes on a different meaning. And similarly, if I have this sentence here, then this sentence here, then this sentence here, that paragraph has a particular meaning. But if I rearrange the order of those three sentences, I rearrange the meaning of the entire phonetic language structure or symbolic language structure. That I know other languages function differently. I'm just working with what I'm familiar with as a basic cultural context. Thank you. This is also truthful in your DNA. In your DNA, the basic protein letters, you've got A, C, T, and G are their basic, shorthand for what they are, protein structures, come together and they form different orders, codons, and then each one of those words fits together in your DNA, making a sentence, and the sentences have meaning, and there's a syntax to it, and what is next to a particular partner in terms of a protein structure or in terms of the orderliness of how proteins are ordered, first this, then this, then this, then this, has a meaning inside of you. So again, the way that science has comprehended or looked at for meaning, DNA, is by, let's say you took a book like War and Peace, right? Which is considered a great masterpiece of literature. But the way that science in this analogy would study it is to say, okay, we're going to take War and Peace, we're going to count all of the letters A, then we're going to count all of the letters Z and every letter in between it, and we're just going to come up with a proportion. Like we have this many letters A, this many letters E, this many letters T, this many letters Z. And then once we understand that, we're going to say we understand War and Peace. Like, no, that's not understanding War and Peace at all. That's only understanding at the very minimum level, reductionist level, the ingredients that go into building the literature that is known as War and Peace. But it means nothing about the actual language structure, because how those letters are ordered has everything to do with the meaning that is conveyed. And then even as, let me mute you, my dear. Even as you read the book with the letters in the proper order, there is still your comprehension factor of being able to comprehend the meaning of what is represented by these symbols known as language. This is the same exact thing with DNA, because your DNA is a symbolic language. It is symbolic of light. It is symbolic of time. I paint these paintings that are symbolic of light and that are symbolic of time. The emanations from the sun and the stars are pure consciousness. They are pure light. They are not the mere symbolic representation of light and time. They are the light and time itself that we are experiencing. So DNA is a bridge. It is like the literature or the language that we use to describe something that not only builds your physical body presence, but also builds events and experiences in reality. And it intimately ties you to the consciousness that is the sun and the stars, the celestial neural network, and the supermassive black hole at the center of our galaxy, the tap, 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 great conductor of our particular philharmonic, but not even the great conductor of the everythingness. Your DNA ties you to the great conductor of the everythingness, all right? Your DNA is a bridge to the sun and the stars. Your DNA is a bridge to what I would say is God consciousness, unity consciousness. I couldn't even get that word out. God consciousness, infinity, unity consciousness, the singularity. Your DNA is an amazing, what is the word that I can even use for it? Not apparatus. It is a gift. It is something amazing. We are very privileged, lucky. It's a gift to be able to have it and have access to it. And it is also part of the narrative structure reason as to why I am here as Aurora in a physical body. Why am I here in a physical body of a physical woman with cells, with DNA? Why not just be floating around in a pure waveform state? I'm Aurora on the song. I'm on an interdimensional, outside of the dimensionality realm, and I'm not in a body, and I don't go to the store, and I don't buy toilet paper. I did write a silly song years ago that what it's like when you're living on Earth buying toilet paper. Why am I here living on Earth in a body buying toilet paper? The answer is because I have DNA. I know, thank you for allowing me to be a little silly. I need it sometimes. Because I have DNA, and DNA is an incredible gift, it is an instrument, like a piano, that you can use to emanate beingness into reality and to receive beingness from reality. It is part of an interface. So this is not just a dead book, like War and Peace. It's in the library, it's done. Tolstoy wrote it years ago. It's not being re-edited, it's not doing stuff. The DNA that is in you is a book that is alive. It is constantly doing stuff. I'm joking. It is constantly doing stuff, and it is constantly affecting reality and being affected by the reality around you. So your DNA behavior of your scrolls, unscrolling, unfurling, spewing out like ticker tape, splitting itself apart, replicating itself, turning itself into circles, plasmids, interlocking those plasmids, unlocking those plasmids. You can see all of these motions that I'm making with my hands, all of these arabesques. It's like an acrobat. It's like a ballerina, twisting around, furling around. I'm doing a backbend. I'm doing a swan dive. I'm moving forward. I'm twisting around myself. I'm doing a yoga position. I'm unfurling again. Your DNA does that all the time. And it is a largely unperceived or unconscious, but I would say supra-conscious, not just sub, but supra. Possibly not something that you are aware of with your conscious mind, something that you are aware of with your higher mind. So just like dreams can be prescient or very important, dreams can be a doorway to the supra-consciousness, not just the un or subconscious. Your DNA is not just something that is like, duh, I'm dumb and I don't know what's going on. My DNA is just doing stuff. No, your DNA is part of the expression of the genius of your higher self, or the incredible levels of intelligence of your higher self, acting through the mechanism, I hesitate to use that word, acting through the apparatus, instrument of your physical body, and has an enormous amount of intelligence. These movements and dance structures that your DNA is doing, and their complexity and their organizational principles and the language that they represent, are a representation of your higher intelligence, your higher self, and your connection to the great conductor of the Philharmonic, the larger great conductor of all reality. You are a very highly intelligent being that has this apparatus that is a wonderful gift or a wonderful instrument to use, and you're in the process of learning how to play your instrument. Well, okay, you have a instrument, a violin, you have a genetic piano, you're learning how to play it. Just be like in that beginner state where you're like, okay, I don't know exactly what I'm doing, but I'm going to get it. I'll give a very brief anecdote because maybe we need some lightheartedness today. Years ago, I was at a little girl's birthday party. I repeat my anecdotes if you've heard this before. And the little girl received a child's violin. And she was so excited when she opened up the case. It's like, a violin. And she took it out and she went like this to play. And it would like, and she went, here, take it back. It's broken. We all laughed like, oh, how charming. The little girl didn't know. We said, no, honey, it's okay. And the violin works perfectly fine. It's not broken, but you just have to learn how to play it. You have to practice. You have to learn how to hold your fingers. You have to learn how to hold the bow. And then as you practice and as you get better, you'll be able to make beautiful music with it. That is my lighthearted anecdote to you in terms of the expression of your divine truthfulness and your heritage through the genetic structure and instrumentation of your beautiful body. That you might be like, like, I don't know, I have toenail fungus or back pain or some growth somewhere that I don't want to be there, like whatever physical structures you don't like or enjoy, or whatever in your life structures you don't like or enjoy. Let me drink my water. It's not that your instrument is broken. Please don't send it back. Please don't send back your birthday gift. Your body is your birthday gift. Please don't send back your birthday gift. Please understand that it is an incredibly valuable gift that you just have to learn how to play it. Okay, back to, well, supercoiling and DNA has everything to do with learning how to play your genetic instrument. I got through supercoiling, and that the dance of your DNA is a structured, intelligent, organized way that the potential language potentials of your DNA are unrolled in order to make available certain levels of information, even while muting or turning down the volume on other levels of undesirable information. And that is analogous to when I do my music mixing and I have all of these different sound structures. You know, I don't know if you've ever seen my music mixing, but like there's different volume columns of, you know, volume. And it's like, these guys are all the instruments I like. We want to turn them up. These guys, turn the volume down, like less cowbell, turn the volume down on that. We don't need that. I know I'm making little jokes. Yes, some things that we want to turn down in terms of the inner potential music, in terms of negative life potentials, negative characteristics, and disease potentials that you don't want to experience. DNA is changing shape all the time, and DNA is connected to time, and your DNA behavior is affected by the time that your context of time, what you're submerged in time, the events around you, and DNA is also affecting the time. You're emanating effects into the world of time that is all around you. DNA is always also spinning at an incredibly high rate. So it's twisting itself together, but it's also spinning like the way that a top spins around, spinning at a very high rate. So it's like a string that is vibrating like a jump rope, but it's also always spinning. So it has these different forms of motion. And also, now comes the fun and wonderful stuff. In my notes, I have that in bold. DNA is not just a mere carrier of the physical blueprints of your protein structures, like your blue eyes or your brown hair. It's not just the recipe for your physical appearance. Again, that is the reductionist approach to War and Peace. We have this many letters A and this many letters T, and that will make you look this way in your body. It's a very simplistic approach. DNA is intimately connected to the sun because it is an antenna for consciousness. Your DNA as a vibrating string is like an antenna. It both picks up, receives information that is in the realm of pure frequency. I'm song, I'm pure frequency. I don't have a physicality body, I'm intangible, but I am frequency. And it also sends out. My vocal cords. I'm sending out a song. I'm sending out a song. I'm vibrating my voice. I'm vibrating the atmosphere with my voice. I'm sending out a non-tangible song. Your DNA does both of these things. It is a vibrating string that is also similar to a vibrating crystal. Oh, here's a pretty crystal. Look at this. This is a double terminated, beautiful, pretty crystal with like a little baby on top. Isn't that so nice? I don't know if you could see it. There you go. And it's got a little baby crystal on top there. Crystalline structures are very similar to our DNA in that they both receive and send. This crystalline structure has its own innate vibration, that it's vibrating on a very high frequency level, higher and faster than my hands can even possibly vibrate. And it also receives. And this is just like, I'm sure that most people here are not of the era, but we can remember back to the era of radios that had crystal receivers inside of them. These are like the original radios from over 100 years ago, maybe. The way that they were structured was to have crystals in them. That crystals in the radio machine picked up the waves that are radio waves that are intangible in the atmosphere, that vibrated the crystal, that was then translated into little tiny electrical signals that could then be put into speakers or into headphones, go into your ears. So the invisible, intangible waves that are radio waves picked up by a crystal and translated into auditory signals that could go into your ears and then make you be able to understand and hear the radio broadcasts of whatever, Orson Welles, The War of the Worlds, you know, or whatever it was at that time. So your DNA is similar to those radio crystals. And Trish made a question earlier about calcification and radio signals, calcification being a problem of the pineal gland. Pineal gland being a beautiful crystalline structure. Actually, it's not situated more like this. It's more situated like this. If you could imagine it being kind of like a sticking out, there you go, more sticking out like that, deep inside of you. Like here's your pineal gland deep inside of you. Your pineal gland is like an eyeball that contains microcrystalline structures, very tiny crystals that also are antennae that pick up and emit. And if you have too much junkola, like, you know, when you get, if you have hard water in your house and the excessive mineralization of your shower head prevents water from flowing out and like getting on your hair in the shower, gets all clogged up, that can happen in your pineal gland if you drink too much fluoridated water or have too many others of these impurities that get inside of the shower head of your inner pineal gland, and the water of consciousness does not flow effectively. All analogies, but that is a crapping up of your inner pineal gland system. That's calcification. But of course, your DNA structure is the different type of crystal. But I'm trying to get across the idea that it is an antenna, it is a transceiver, and it connects to, non-locally, all light everywhere. It connects to the sun, the stars, the stellar network, the supermassive black hole, the center of the galaxy, the composer, conductor of the Philharmonic, and also to larger superstructures of light and consciousness. So DNA is a broadcaster that emanates vibrations from your unique dance patterns. So let's say you just have a guitar, just sitting there with a bunch of strings, right? And you're not even strumming the guitar, you're not even touching it. But I don't know if you've ever been in a room where this happens, but like you drop something heavy, it clangs on the floor, and the guitar kind of makes a noise. You did not do anything to the guitar, but the guitar's strings were stimulated. It is a sensitive instrument. The strings picked up the vibration of you, whatever, like dropping a heavy book on the floor or something like that, and the guitar made a noise. You, as a sensitive instrument of vibrating strings, make a noise when events happen around you. Thought events, emotional events, contextual events. You pick up on those broadcasts. You also send out broadcasts. You send out broadcasts in every dance movement that you make. Now we get down to my presence here. I am here as Aurora. Aurora, and I live on Earth now. I'm in a body and I buy toilet paper, and I have a DNA-based body, and I do a unique new dance that sends out a new song and influences other people around me. And I wouldn't be able to do it if I didn't have a somatic cellular structure, because I needed an interface to do it, and also the ethical justification to do it. So we're getting down to the ethics of reciprocal interaction. You guys all have guitars. I have a guitar too. It's called my physical body, or piano. We interact with each other and with the time field at large, and all other DNA-bearing organisms, and all other organisms such as our planet that have a toroidal superstructure. You could say that our planet is like a big giant piano that is made up of many, many, many vibrating strings, each vibrating string being a genetic quotient. Like one string is the dolphin string, and one string is the blue whale string, and one string is the human string, and one string is the amoeba or lactobacillus string, and one string is the redwood tree string. And every single organism is like a string within the much larger genetic piano or harp that is the planetary structure. So when I hold up this structure here, and you might say, wait a minute, Aurora, the planet herself is like a rock, third rock from the sun, that doesn't have DNA herself, but she has, or it, she, they has, planet has this structure, and this structure is the end result of all of the beautiful, amazing music. I'm a dolphin, I'm a butterfly, I'm a redwood tree, I'm a this, I'm a that, I'm all of these different genetic organisms that all fit together into what we would call the planetary ecosystem, which is the song of this planet. Each planet has its own song. Each one of these songs connects together and makes the harmonic expression of the solar system that says, I'm the sun, I'm sending out and emanating thought waves and possibilities. Some of them become all the organisms on Earth. Some of them become the life on Mars. Some of them become Mercury. I will make a joke. Some of them become Uranus. It's Uranus. Okay, I know I'm getting very, very silly. I have to do that sometimes. But all of this music is part of the song of our solar system, and our solar system is just one neuron in a great brain that is singing the Symphony of Life. And I encourage you guys and invite you guys. I wrote a song called the Symphony of Life. It's on my album Under a Gentle Sun, and it's all about this. It is all about, oh, you're playing with your furry overlord. I see your cat there. It's beautiful. Cats are a genetic quotient within the planet too. The song Symphony of Life from Under a Gentle Sun, that is what this is all about. The idea that all of these organisms fit together. When you play your genetic music, you are in partnership with microbes. The lactobacillus that's on your skin and down your digestive tract help you to stay alive. Lactobacillus is playing its song in my stomach right now. It's digesting milk proteins and keeping Aurora alive. Digesting milk proteins, keeping me alive. I have an ecosystem in my stomach, hooray. And when you are playing your genetic music on the planet, in the ecosystem of all of these other organisms, you help to keep the entire planetary structure alive. It is very beautiful and good. Fantastic. Good. This goes down to interdimensional ethics. I am broadcasting a particular sound, song, unique energy structure. It is unique to me not only as an organism, it is unique to me as an individual. I'm Aurora. I have my own unique song. Every single lactobacillus in my tummy and on my skin also has a unique song. Wow, holy wow. That's a whole lot of diversity. That's a whole lot of genetic diversity. That's a whole lot of uniqueness. Aurora, why is there so much genetic diversity and uniqueness? This is part of the protection mechanism and encryption system of our world. Why don't we just have one version of everything? Like that would be like a clone or a monoculture. You know, bananas and potatoes to a large extent are cloned or organisms that are made from cuttings. You get it? So seeds have to do with genetic diversity. Male plant and female plant come together, kapow, they combine genetic information and a new seed comes out. That's a little bit different than the mommy and the daddy. It's a new way. We played genetic roulette, something new came out. What they do in agriculture with mostly potatoes and bananas is they say, I like this potato, I like this banana, I'm going to take offshoots. I'm going to take those offshoots, I'm going to root those offshoots so that the babies that come off of the mama plant are genetically exactly alike. Because I like these potatoes, they taste good. But what happened in Ireland was there was a blight that came along that particular genetic quotient of potatoes was susceptible to that blight. And then all of the potatoes died because none of them had a genetic immunity to that blight. There was no genetic diversity. Genetic diversity has to do with protection of the entirety, protection of the ecosystem. Sorry that my mind is wandering because I have so much inside of my brain that I'm trying to connect to my mouth, collect my thoughts for a moment. Encryption is the word I'm looking for. Encryption of the system in the sense of it not being able to be hijacked, because if every organism just had one code, then all you have to do is crack that one code and you're in. You get it? Like, what if there was only one password for every single computer, every place, and you were a hacker? And you have to think sometimes in terms of hackers. You'd be like, oh, I hacked your password. It's password. Your password is the word password. And now I hacked your password and now I'm in. And I'm admin of your whole entire system now because I now control every single organism everywhere across all time because I figured out that your password is the word password. You have to have unique passwords for every single one of you. Every single one of you has your own unique genetic code. You have your own unique fingerprint. You have your own unique genetic code. You have your own unique trajectory through time. This level of uniqueness is a type of encryption or self-protection of the system through diversity and through uniqueness. So that, let's say, Charlie B, I'm going to hack your code. I'm going to hack your system. I'm going to figure out your password of you, and then I'm going to get inside of you, and I'm going to do stuff to you. Guess what, guys? That's what a virus does. A virus hacks your DNA code, gets inside of you, and makes you start doing stuff that you don't want to do. It's called something like the common cold or the flu or polio or whatever. And I know that there's all sorts of different questions about the origins of disease and different philosophies of it, but just go with me on this, that viruses exist as semi-alive thought forms that hijack the behavior of your DNA, and they get inside of you with your admin password and they say, don't make more of you, make more of me. And your body's like, no, I don't want to. And then you have a battle inside, you kick out the invaders and you get back to being you. If you have one genetic code, then you don't have genetic diversity. Then what you have is the vulnerability, like the potatoes and the blight, and bananas get blight too. That could wipe out everything and everywhere. And we have had times in different, cultures and with different organisms and species where there is a virus or a pestilence or a pathogen that comes in that some genetic models are susceptible to and some genetic models have immunity to. And immunity means that your cells are like, we don't trust you. We will not let you inside of us. We will send out antibodies in your presence. We will stay alive and we will continue to listen to our own genetic music and not let you make mucus inside of me and kill me with your viral particles. And if you don't have genetic diversity, then all it takes is one little computer hacker known as a virus to wipe out all life everywhere. Genetic diversity is a protection against that. And it is also a protection against, let us say, lack of diversity in the sense of male plus female equals a new genetic combination in the next generation. The parent generation is slightly different from future generations. All of this is a way of transmitting information across vast levels of time, eons of time. But you need to make sure that that keeps on tumbling forward through time. And you need to have genetic diversity to do that. Things being constantly new and changing and different. Parents' generation being different from children's generation. Genetic diversity is a protection against all of that. This is why there is unique songs even within a species. Each human has its own unique song. Humans are different from butterflies. Butterflies are different from redwood trees. And the life on Mars Mars is different from the life on Earth. And all of these places, I can't help it, I'm singing David Bowie, are a little bit different. And that diversity throughout the entirety of the genetic spectrum, both here in our immediate neighborhood of the solar system and in the galaxy at large, is a self-protective aspect of the complexity of the system. The network is protecting itself through this wonderful complexity. Now cue the Flying Rainbow Lasagna. The Flying Rainbow Lasagna as my contribution and amendment or new song structure within the behavior of what is possible in DNA as a new way to influence, dance with, rewrite, or rearrange the symbolic structure of what DNA is in order to play a new song, create new realities, rearrange the potentials of reality, and have a new type of behavior. This goes down to the levels of interdimensional ethics of influencing other people. Before I get to this, I want to talk about unconditional love. This lesson contains teachings about interdimensional ethics, responsibility, and unconditional love because of the reciprocal interconnectivity and influence of DNA to other organisms that bear DNA or that are vibratory structures. At the level of unconditional love, we realize that love is acceptance, meaning I accept you, or I accept things, or I accept reality in its structure. At the level of unconditional love, there is not a need to control the behavior of others. There's instead acceptance in freedom. Aurora Collective as an exemplar of the cosmic law of freedom. That's me breaking in. There's instead acceptance in freedom of who each being is, who they are in their journey and their process of development. All right, that's big. And also, that just the act of you emanating unconditional love, the love tone, has an impact on everyone around you, the planet, and pure consciousness at large. So this is a balancing act that we do, the recognition that we reciprocally influence one another. At the level of love, I recognize that I don't have to be like, I'm going to make you do something. Like, I'm going to do it for you. I'm going to make you do this. I'm going to bully you. I'm going to twist your arm. I'm trying to make a mean face there. I'm going to make you do something. Do something. No, at the level of unconditional love is acceptance and allowing, because really it is the recognition that each one of you is on your journey. Each one of you requires your unique customized personal weightlifting, personal training regimen from the cosmos for spiritual weight training, so that you will build your strengths, build your musculature, learn your life lessons as you need to, and that there is actually very little in terms of what I need to do in terms of behaviorally controlling you or forcing you or imposing my willpower upon you or doing what I think is right for you, because really the true lessons of life come from your own direct experience, your own internalization of those experiences, and your own realizations or recognitions in response to those experiences. So you're creating your own reality, creating your own lessons for yourself, moving your arm like this, building the muscles for moving your arm like this, and being like, wait a minute, I just learned a bunch of stuff from all of the stuff that I went through. And that for me to say, don't do this over here, do this over here, move your arm like this. Now you're an ascended master. You know, I'm trying to be joking like some kind of like, you know, army coach or something like that. That is not how real learning occurs. That when we get to the level of unconditional love, what it is really about is more of an allowing. I allow you your behavior in freedom. I allow you and comprehend that I do not need to control your behavior. Your free will in a pristine system allows you to make experiences for yourself, have those experiences, have them reflected back like a bat sends out and reflects back sonar, like the sun sends out sensory organisms that are feelers known as photons that are you and me, and having them reflected back. We are also part of our individual learning system and life spiraling up through the time vortex. Your life lessons of becoming an ascended master are analogous to and microcosmic fractal fragments of the sun and the stars on their journey towards ascended mastery as well. And we are learning lessons and being photons and feelers and sensory apparatuses that are part of the sun's own journey towards divine perfection. Boom. You are emanating out unconditional love and affecting others. So on the one hand, unconditional love is an emanation that is an allowing. I allow you in freedom. I'm allowing you in freedom and I love you. That's what I love you really means. I allow you in freedom. I accept you as you are. And also sending out that energy, I'm affecting you. I'm affecting you with my love. I am not forcing you to do things. I allow you your free will and I am affecting you with love. I know it seems like a little bit of self-conflict, but it is not actually in conflict when you get to the level of insight and comprehension beyond words. Conversely, when others are emanating from their state of being, it has an impact on you. So this is big. This is the interdimensional ethics. Like you're here, you're in a body, you're allowed to be here, you're supposed to be here. Other people are also allowed to be here and they're also supposed to be here. You're emanating out what you are emanating from your unique perspective as a time portal. They are also emanating out what they are supposed to and allowed to be emanating from their perspective as a time portal. You are not all on the same level. We are not all on the same level. We do not all have the same lessons to learn. We all have unique genetic characteristics in order to avoid genetic blight and as part of the great diversity and self-protection of the giant complexity system that we reside within. This gets to be complex. Interdimensional ethics arises from the truth that we live in a world of free will where you cannot impose your will upon others. And the desire to control another person in contrast with the realization that they really need to do that on their own. That they really need to make the capacity, the opportunity to make their own choices and to learn and then come to a decision to act differently or amend or transform their behavior through their own free will, and that's why they are experiencing their journey through life and why they are experiencing their own behavioral feedback loop with the cosmos. I'll add asterisks in a pristine system, because of course we do understand the idea of a non-pristine system where there is an artificial simulation or an artificial created reality that might make blowback not happen immediately. So in a pristine system, I'm doing stuff, and I send out stuff and it immediately reflects back to me. And I'm like, I just really learned from all that stuff that I just did, including like, let's say like, I'm a violent psychopath, I'm going to murder people, I'm making a mean face. And then I'm going to experience the immediate reflection backward from all of that violence and hatred that I've spewed outward. In a pristine system, one would experience that blowback instantaneously. However, we do recognize that there have been distortions of the system, that you are not necessarily in an instantaneous feedback loop, and you can use this to intellectually comprehend why you sometimes see the world in a state of disarray. I am the rectification event that is here in order to make sure that cosmic law is enforced and that what is sent out does return back to its owner, so that level of unfairness and injustice is ending. Please understand that also intellectually too. A big teaching here also that I have highlighted is that you cannot make someone do something. So, okay, let's say that someone comes along and they're like, oh, I'm going to make you be an ascended master. Like, I'm going to, boot camp you into being an ascended master. You're going to do this many sit-ups, this many spiritual sit-ups, and this many spiritual weightlifting, and this much spiritual running around. You're going to be an ascended master. And then as soon as I go away from you and all of my, severe restrictions are taken away from you, or dietary restrictions are taken away from you, you go right back to being a couch potato, and you go right back to being a junk food eater, and all of your muscles disappear and you go back to being a fat person. I'm joking, but you know what I mean. All of that discipline was imposed externally. If it does not arise internally, if these insights and changes in behavior do not arise internally and are imposed externally, they're not lasting. This is the true realization of what is happening in our world, moving from a sense of externalized religion or behavioral authority figure telling you, these are the 10 commandments, thou shalt do this, thou shalt not do this, I will smite you. I am your spiritual personal trainer and I will smite you if you are bad and wrong, or send you to hell, or do this or do that. And external fear of external authority figure imposed upon you, as opposed to true spiritual development, where you say, I do this because it feels right inside of me. I do this because I am guided to do this inside of me. When your spiritual exercise program happens because you're like, I want to get up off the couch and run around outside because I think it's a beautiful expression of joy. I want to move my body, or I want to become stronger. I want to lift up things and do stuff. which basically amounts to helping people and doing good stuff from your heart and learning, right? So you can't just have an external authority figure imposing a discipline upon you and saying, do this and you'll be a good person and your muscles will grow bigger. You have to have that arise internally from your own sense of willpower and motivation, saying, I want to be a good person. I want to learn how to be a good person. I now engage in the spiritual weightlifting process of being able to attempt to do right, attempt to help others, and attempt to move towards unity consciousness and transform myself and transform the world in a positive state. And of course, learn and grow along the way, because sometimes you screw up and sometimes you do the wrong thing when you're trying to do the right thing, and then you have to fix it. Don't worry. Cannot make someone else do anything. These things should arise internally. Let me put this down safely. Everyone is setting up their own, this is the state of unconditional love. Everyone is setting up their own ideal circumstances for their own growth and learning. And the unconditional love's stance of allowing each person to unfold as their own particular artistic plan, which I define as God's plan, God in abstraction, not necessarily God, the smiter, the cruel spiritual coach that we read about in some religious texts. That is unconditional love. All that being said, highlighted in my notes in very, very large letters, says this: however, it is very appropriate to have boundaries. This is big, because you're here to learn your life lessons, etc., but you can't learn them all over me. That's big. Let's say someone is like, I'm here to learn the life lessons of what happens if I run around stabbing people as a violent psychopath. Fantastic. You can learn those life lessons, but you do not have to learn those life lessons all over me. I have a boundary. So free will is balanced, and allowance and unconditional acceptance is balanced by your own free will choice not to be stabbed in the face by a violent madman, not to be run over by, a steamroller, not to be raped and imprisoned. These are very, very clear things. And this is the anthropomorphic expression of something that is an abstract cosmic law. Where I come from in terms of my Aurora collective and, being a pure song structure. Play my song. I'm a pure song structure. I'm a pure song structure. Where I come from, everything is just obvious. You're free, but you don't get to impose your freedom all over me, because I am also free. I am free to not be murdered by you. This is big, but on the behavioral anthropomorphic experienced level, a lot of people are like, well, I'm free. I'm free to go around doing what I want to do to you, and I will rape and murder you. No, that is not acceptable, because I am also free not to be raped and not to be murdered, and that these states of freedom must both be respected and be recognized in balance. I am free to come here into a human female form and make a new song with the DNA of this body that is called the Flying Rainbow Lasagna DNA dance. All right, that is part of my freedom in the world. And then that also must be balanced by the sense that other organisms can say, I choose not to be influenced directly by your song. I don't like your song. Laura's playing some horrible music. Stop it. I put my fingers in my ears. No, I hate that song. Run away. You have to have that freedom. So if you want to be the violent psychopath and try to stab or rape or imprison someone, fine. I can get away from you. This is a basic doctrine of separation of frequencies. If you want to be in a hell realm of violence and psychopathology and rape and imprisonment and abuse and all that stuff, that is appropriate to your journey and that's what you need, and those are the life lessons and spiritual weightlifting that you need, okay, that's great. I don't have to be there with you experiencing that. Very, very, very clear boundaries. If I say, no, I do not want to be raped and imprisoned, I choose to be someplace else having a different level of experience. I'm gonna emphasize that again. You are here to learn your life lessons, etc., but you can't learn them all over me. That is the behavioral expression on the anthropomorphic level of setting a boundary with anyone who might be an embodied presence or a disembodied presence, a demonic, horrific, monstrous presence that might say, I want to eat you, I want to rape you, I want to hurt you. Be like, It is your free will and your experience in the world, in the cosmos, in the diversity of consciousness journeys to be able to have that experience. However, I do not have to have you learn the negative life consequences all over me. Very, very big. And this comes down to those pesky occupiers of the interstices. It comes down to fragmented consciousnesses. It comes down to why do consciousnesses end up in the sorry state that they are within, where they say, I want to murder you. I want to rape you. I want to be a vampire and feed off of your energy. I want to harm you in some way. I want to diminish you in some way. For whatever reason, they have made their life choices and they've gone down that path. Learn your lessons. Good job on you. Learn your lessons. Do not learn them all over me. Another asterisk, protect yourself from people of a lower vibrational nature who are still learning beginner lessons. Got it? About violence and exploitation. You do not want them to try to impose that upon you because that takes away from your free will not to be enslaved, not to be raped, and not to be violenced. So both in the physical and in the non-physical level, there are very unevolved aspects of being that are learning what I would call beginner lessons. Like they still haven't gotten it. They still haven't learned about unity consciousness. They still haven't learned, I'm stabbing myself in the face. I'm stabbing myself in the face. And they're stabbing someone who has a different appearance. Like you're actually stabbing yourself in the face. You're actually hurting yourself. They haven't learned these lessons of unity consciousness. It is hugely important for them to learn them, but they don't have to learn them all over you. And you can belong in a different stratum, different level of reality, experiencing different types of behavior, because if you're just busy being stabbed in the face, you can't ever actually play beautiful music, which is what it's like in my level of reality. We are not stabbing each other in the face at all, and we have a completely different level of experience. So infants of consciousness. I've described this, and I also recorded this lesson in 2013, and so a lot of what I talk about has to do with the viewpoint of 2013 and who I was then. Humans are now moving beyond being your infants of consciousness, but as infants of consciousness, beginning to recognize and learn the lessons of connectivity. That means your telepathy is just waking up and you're just starting to learn, wait a minute, you're connected to other humans telepathically. You're connected to other humans through your genetic thought forms and your emanations. You're connected to other organisms through your genetic thought forms and your emanations. You are connected to other time spaces, the past, the future, alternate parallel realities, far distant star systems. You are connected to all of that through the ocean of consciousness. You are beginning to move beyond infancy and into toddlerhood. You have to begin to take responsibility for what you are sending out. I also recorded this in 2013. This is, so now you guys, I'll take it for granted, like, yeah, like you gotta have a firewall and protections and password protections and encryptions on your computer. But, you know, in 2013, everybody was not as savvy or as aware of the challenges of having your personal home computer connected to a computer network. And even whatever 20 years before that, when the internet was just in development, nobody knew about that. So the idea was, first you had a box that's your home computer that contains all of your personal private information, kind of like your brain. And then people started to get the internet, and I'm going to connect my box brain to your box brain. But then sometimes stuff from your box brain comes into my box brain and it's not good and we don't like it. And that's called a computer virus. Interesting, right? Kind of like the immune system in your body, having to keep out unwanted thought forms from your DNA heritage. So yes, now it might seem like a no-brainer. Of course, you have to have firewall protections and password protections and encryption protections and download things from software safe sites. Don't just stream movies from weird places. You know what I'm talking about. But there was a time on the internet when people did not know about that. And they'd be like, oh, I streamed a movie and now my computer's not working properly. What happened? Because you also downloaded a bunch of computer viruses at the same time. So similar to the early days of the internet, when people first learned of the necessity of firewalls for protection and encryption and limiting what you are broadcasting and sharing with others, and also limiting what you're receiving with the outside world. It's not appropriate for me to hack Charlie B's system because he is allowed to have privacy. It's part of a freedom in the world and in consciousness. It's part of the freedom of your mind, that you have privacy of your mind. It's not appropriate for me. This is all part of interdimensional ethics and how things work on the level of the Aurora Collective and the higher dimensional levels of the Philharmonic. Like, no, you don't just go into someone else's mind because they have the right to privacy. They have privacy and encryption, and you get to have privacy and encryption on your computer. And if you don't have it, hackers from all over the world are going to try to get inside of your hard drive, and then they'll hold your hard drive hostage and say, send me Bitcoin, this many Bitcoins if you want to get access to your hard drive again. And none of that is acceptable. It's like piracy. None of that is proper. So you want to limit what you send out, and you also want to limit what you receive. This is the beginning of toddlerhood in the interdimensional world of your DNA, playing your DNA violin, learning how to play beautiful music, not horrible screeching music, and learning how to limit who you connect with, how you connect, in what levels, who you send out to, who you receive from. Sorry, I have to fix my eyesight here. The analogy of your higher faculties, as I'm adjusting my contact lens, how perfect, your insight, your eye of insight, your telepathy, whom you are connecting to, and the sense of telepathy and the sense of which organisms you are connecting to and what is their value system. Because remember, this is a tendril of attention, and what you reach out and touch upon, you are tasting little tiny pieces of and ingesting little bits of who and what they are, and you are affecting them and they are affecting you. Be selective in your partners. Be consensual in your partners. Be cautious of the mentalities, values, and behavioral systems of the beings whom you are connecting or interacting with. My Aurora Collective is a beautiful, loving collective. We occupy a safe space. You would wish for us to be your dance partners. We would never do something mean or cruel or against the free will foundations of cosmic law to you or against you. That's why I'm here as a genetic oscillator, offering you the opportunity to fly in rainbow lasagna, as opposed to a bloodthirsty invader coming in, trying to stab you in your third eye, saying, lasagna, I'm going to force you to do some kind of thing, which is unfortunately what our planet and DNA structure has experienced in other times in the past. And in the not so distant past, wink, 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 in the ongoing present. This has everything to do with your daily interpersonal day-to-day experience from human to human, and also in the world of pure energy or pure spirit. The interplay of DNA structures between two unique genetic dance patterns. Here's person A, here's person B. Person A might be dancing a flying rainbow lasagna, lyrical, beautiful dance, la, 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 la. And person B might be dancing a rather boxy, limiting dance of death, dance of limitation, dance of violence, dance of non-evolved thought pattern, ancient patterns that might involve the flattening out of DNA. So when I talk about the dance of death and contravene the freedom dance of flying rainbow lasagna, and how I talk about rearranging your genetic structure and you don't have to die anymore, and how when you, the song that I wrote, the Symphony of Life, says, like, even when you first came here as a child and you didn't know about death, and then someone tells you one day you're going to die, and you internalize that as a truth, and your DNA stops from being this completely free, beautiful, healthy, eternal dance into being a boxy, robotic, or limited movement that says, and then one day I will die. Boom. That is a genetic program that is not actually part of your natural genetic dance behavior. I offer you an opportunity to change, but I do not impose it upon you. I offer it in freedom. Let's go to the question of whom is influencing whom. So you have these two people that each have their own genetic music. Play the Flying Rainbow Lasagna song. I'm playing a song of death. Playing the Flying Rainbow Lasagna song. It's a song that says you don't have to die. I'm playing the song of death. And that these two songs do not mesh together. They don't sound good together. As an aside, how objective science has studied DNA via dissection, I already got through all of that, and not seeing the holistic whole, and the significance of proximity in DNA. There's no such thing as junk DNA. I got through all of that in the lesson already. But in my expression here about those beings that are making a genetic song that is due to the cultural programming about death, and also the things that you've been taught and the things that are expectations and the things that you've internalized. You're entitled to make your own choices in life. That's what this all comes down to. I'm choosing to play the flying rainbow lasagna song in this body of a formerly human earth woman. You can play that song of death if you want to, but I'm choosing to play this flying rainbow lasagna song. It's what I came here to play for you. You don't have to die. But Aurora, I want to die. Okay. Okay, you can die if you want to, but I'm offering you a new option. I've been here for 20 years, offering you a new option. The rate at which you vibrate, what you emanate, your belief system, and your choices. You also get to choose who you surround yourself with. So you are entitled to make your own choices. You're entitled to your belief system. Let's say someone says, death is inevitable. You have to die in order to go to heaven. Death is going to happen to me. It's happened to everyone before that has ever lived, and it will happen to me too. Death is, something that is necessary. Death is this, death is that. And I'm like, okay, you're entitled to all of those belief systems, to all of those patterns. They are largely cultural and largely inherited and largely relevant to the context that you're moving out of, not the context that you're in right now. You are entitled to them. I allow them to you, but I also offer you the flying rainbow lasagna song in freedom. And if you like my song, please come sing it with me. Be in my class, listen to my music, be a part of what I'm sending out, and internalize something new. And that is the basic aspect of stratification via frequency and free will. You have a free will to move towards that which you are attracted to and away from that which you are repelled by. And that's also basic levels of being free and not being imprisoned. And that you, in a pristine system, magnetically attract and are surrounded by those beings who have a similar song around you. Staying alive. Maybe I should play the song, Bee Gees song, Staying Alive. We are staying alive. We are not playing the death song. And we are playing the song of eternal life. And that's also what the Symphony of Life is. And this has to do with what your DNA is doing, how your cells are vibrating, the choices you're making in your life, how you are approaching reality, how you are structuring your personal life, how you are structuring your personal economy, how you earn your money and how you spend your money, who you spend your money with, whom you spend your money with whom you spend your money, the social structures that you navigate through as you are earning money and spending money, the level of reality that you embody and look at, and the way that you look at the world, clustered together in bubbles that reflect your true nature. If you are playing the beautiful music of life and positivity and flying rainbow lasagna, please cluster together. And then also what you will find is that many other people might be made uncomfortable by your love vibration. They'd be like, stop it, I hate your flying rainbow lasagna music. Stop telling me I'm gonna have the capacity to live forever. No, stop it, stop telling me that. Whatever, for whatever reason, they want to play that music. Please allow them, and they should also in freedom allow you to play and exemplify what you play and exemplify, and you get to experience different levels of reality, different stratifications of reality, different reality structures, and that this is all part of the fairness and justice of reality. Unfairness and injustice would be if you're like, I'm gonna try to stop you from like the flying rainbow lasagna spinning, be like, no, stop spinning, stop being an eternal being. I want you to play this horrible music like me. Like, no, you're not allowed to do that to me. And also similarly, I'm not allowed to take you and be like, I'm gonna lasagna you, like some kind of bully or something like that. It doesn't work that way. So unconditional love, when you're playing the song of unconditional love, playing the song of unconditional love, it's a very beautiful song. Sometimes can make other people feel uncomfortable because when they have the darkness or bifurcatedness or beginner life lessons of psychopathology inside of them, the unconditional love frequency makes that stuff bubble up. And they're like, wait a minute, I got all this crapola inside of me, kind of the same way you can put jewelry inside of a sonic vibrating cleaner, like, you put your wedding ring inside of there, and in a sonic solution, it vibrates and all of the junk comes off of your wedding ring and it comes out sparkling and looking so beautiful. You are like that diamond presence. Consciousness is like that diamond presence. And in the presence of unconditional love, all of these lower nature things get vibrated and come up, like all of the hatred, all of the disease, all of the darkness, not just shadow stuff, but illusion stuff, all of the stuff that you don't identify with or shouldn't identify with on your eternal journey, but that some people cling to. Their guilt, their shame, their remorse, their psychopathologies, and their need to be violent against others, and their need to try to go against God's will, and their need to try to go against freedom, and all of these, try to go against God's plan. All of these things bubble up, and they're like, I hate you and your eternal music of freedom and peace and divine connection and happiness. Like, your music just reminds me I'm a piece of crap. Stop it. I'm being very lighthearted here, but it also can help in a way of talking about something that is a very dark topic. And it can help you to understand that, hopefully, in my silly, not silly, but lighthearted presentation here. My contribution to the ongoing planetary shift is a structure that is called the Flying Rainbow Lasagna. Please allow me to share this painting with you. Hooray, this painting is called The Birth of the Flying Rainbow Lasagna. You might also know it from my album cover of a piece of music that I wrote in, I guess it was the end of 2019, called The Birth of the Flying Rainbow Lasagna. And even a song. We can play the song if you want to, or you can check it out at any time. Birth of the Flying Rainbow Lasagna. And what you see, so I painted this painting in the summer of 2012. Just before we went through the portal that is known as the Singularity or Singularity on December 21st, 2012. And what you can see in this drawing painting is, this is Earth representationally splitting apart and turning into or transforming into the flying rainbow lasagna. We have Earth in front of the solar disk, the interplay of these three levels of being. The sun with the singularity inside of the sun, connecting you to all sun stars and light everywhere. Earth, our beautiful planet, the physicality structure, the third rock from the sun upon which we reside and live. And you, represented by this human female figure form inside of there. It's all a self-portrait. Everything is a self-portrait. Life is a self-portrait. I chose myself as the body inside of this. It can also represent you and your body, whatever size, shape, or appearance you are, turning into the flying rainbow lasagna. That is what this is all about. This painting is all about Earth's formerly toroid, oops, this keeps breaking every time I touch it, toroidal energy field, shaped like a donut, shaped like a torus. There's little tiny dots in my painting, I don't know if you can see them, that make the torus shape. Toroidal energy field, with the addition of a new dance movement, with the addition of a new energy pattern, with the addition of a new thought structure, transforming into this flying rainbow lasagna energy field that now has an energy and an entropy. The singularity now has different, what would I call them, qualities in its different positioning. This is the resolution of duality. This is the blending together of formerly divergent realms. This is a moment of transformation. This is a process of transformation. This is what happens when I, as the waveform presence, Aurora, song, comes inside of the somatic cellular structure that was a human female and makes the DNA dance. Now I'm going to go back to me so you can see me a little bit more. Makes the DNA dance in a new way. So you've been, this is the synopsis of this whole entire class today. You have been dancing all along. You have been doing a dance that brings you to the membrane of death, that involves certain cultural precepts, religious teachings, and biological quote unquote truths or expectations that are not necessarily relevant anymore. Not since 2001, when I, as Aurora, created a new genetic portal, a new genetic behavior, a new way of being in the physicality structure. What I do is teach by example. I'm like, hi, I'm Aurora, I'm a song. I came inside of a human body and showed you what you can do with the human body. You can dance like a flying rainbow lasagna, and in doing so, you can completely rearrange your DNA. Look who's waking up and coming out. She's excited about life. You can completely rearrange your DNA. You can rearrange your time structure, because your DNA is not just the thing that describes the physical structures of your body. It also describes the events that you experience in reality from moment to moment. I have to hug my dog. There we go. Oh, I love you. Transforming into a flying rainbow lasagna means not only that you can change what your physicality structure is doing. P.S. I don't look weird. I don't look like I have purple eyeballs or laser beams shooting out of my nose or something like that. I look like a healthy human. That is the whole point. However, this goes beyond it. So I'm trying to say it's not just about changing your physical protein structures. Like, I want to look like a grotesquerie, or something that is a distorted version of what we would define the anthropomorphic form. No, far from it. The embodiment of the flying rainbow lasagna and the rearranging of your genetic code as protein structure blueprint means that you can become a perfected form of what the anthropomorphic structure is, a perfectly shaped physical somatic body. And that is what I am, and that is what I do. So transcending disease, I've transcended a lot of the genetic disease, not genetic disease, a lot of the neurological disease that was part of the artifact of what killed the previous occupant. I have avoided many other diseases and transcended many other forms of, let's say, malformation of the body, both in terms of how the somatic structure is structured and also how events in my life are structured. They have tried to do a lot of very effed up things to me, and I flying rainbow lasagnaed up, over, around, and through them. I will say that in a very attitude way. That was my little funny way of, culturally exemplifying that. But you know what I'm saying? In the most serious way, they have tried to F with me on every level, and they have not successfully done so, because I fly in rainbow lasagna up, over, through, around, beyond it. That is the power of flying rainbow lasagna. So this new genetic dance was a way for me to say, this woman's body does not have to die. This timeline does not have to end on the membrane of death. I will show you how. I will not, however, hack Charlie B's system, jump into his body and flying rainbow lasagna it and make him dance in a different way. That would be unethical. That would be not correct. But I will teach him this song. Be like, I'll teach you how to play your violin. I'll give you this song. I'll play this song for you. I'll encourage you up and down every day to play the song on your own genetic violin. But it is up to you to play the song on your own genetic violin. That is what I am doing, not only for, I don't mean to make you feel in the spotlight when I use your name, just because you're the first person that's in the row of people up there. But to everyone who's in the class and to everyone that I interact with, I offer this to you. However, I do not impose it upon you, even as I understand, comprehend, and accept that I am influencing you with my own genetic song and my own genetic behavior just by being here. So even if I never picked up a pen or a pencil, and I never wrote anything down, if I just came here and lived in obscurity for 20 years and I never opened my mouth and said anything, even if I never went anywhere, not even like to the grocery store to buy whatever, an avocado or something like that, I just lived in secret, just emitting this genetic music, I would still have been influencing you. I would be influencing you through my mind structure, my emotional structure, and the raw music of my DNA. And it is my right to do so. It is the I am presence. It is the basic foundational cosmic law sense that you're allowed to be in existence. And also, I live in a world of cultural precepts where you're allowed to write things down. You're allowed to write books. You're allowed to write letters. You're allowed to write things on the computer and send it out. All of that is culturally appropriate. You're allowed to play music. I play music. You're allowed to paint paintings. I paint paintings. You're allowed to make decorative dresses and shirts. I make decorative dresses and shirts. Do all of these things that are allowed to be done here in this time and place. And I'm not going against any of the human laws, and I'm not going against any of the cosmic laws. And I offer these things to you as possibilities and probabilities in freedom. that you can embody and do yourself. And that's it. And that's like when I have done something like, say, like I offer, flying rainbow lasagna gifts or something like that. Like I did that once with everyone, where it's like, I'm going to do my dance, going to do my flying rainbow lasagna dance. I'm going to send it out to everyone. And if you want to surf those waves with me, surf with me. Like be like a bunch of dolphins, going through the waves together. If you like my music, listen to my music. Be on board that thought wave. If you like my artwork, look at it. If you like my videos, think about it. It's all an opportunity. It's offered in freedom. And then when it is consensual, when there's someone that really wants to be on board and really wants to jam with me, like musically collaborate, we be jamming, wants to jam with me and musically collaborate, or telepathically collaborate, when someone is like, Aurora, I adore the music that you're sending out to my mind. I want to hear more of it. I'm like, that's awesome. That's called consensual dance partnership. And then I connect my mind to your mind and my genetic emanations. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to send those out and that person is going to receive them. And then I'm like, yeah. And I hear back from the people that I'm connected to. That is beautiful. That is community. That is partnership. That is the way it's supposed to be. That's, the way that we're supposed to be able to live in our lives. That's consensual, reciprocal influence. And then there are, of course, the people that are like, Aurora, I hate your music. Like, get the F away from me. I'm like, that's great. Bye, see ya. Bye, see ya. Like, don't be in my class. Don't listen to my music. Don't think about me. Don't be in my thought form pattern. Don't come near me. Go off and do your own thing, because that is true freedom. And there really is a bifurcation or a splitting of timelines. The people that are embracing lasagna go over here. The people that do not embrace lasagna go over here. There's also a separation out, like according to a specific gravity or density experiment. Oil and vinegar do not mix. Go to your level, go to your layer, people. Go to where the level of reality that you're supposed to be at. But you do not have to be a part of lasagna if you do not wish. It is an offer, and it is literally a higher dimensional state that you can embody and join with me and be a part of in freedom, but I'm not forcing or imposing it on anyone to be there. So the flying rainbow lasagna is a way to add a higher dimension to the process of twisting, folding, and splicing and interweaving one's DNA. So I said, you're already doing all this dance movements. And here I am, I'm doing the flying rainbow lasagna dance movements. And I come up to you and I'm in a public park and my DNA is going like this and I'm doing along my lasagna dance. And your cells of your body might be like, like, I hear music. Something is going on over there. Something is interesting. Like, I want that music. And you might be like, I want to be in that person's energy field. Or you might be like, I want to run away. I want to be away from that person and not have anything to do with them. I've experienced this so much, like with little kids. And again, I don't impose this on anyone, and I offer it always in freedom. Whenever I see little children, I'm always happy and smiling, and I'm always usually wearing bright colors. And I'm usually like, hi, like, I wave like, hi, little kid in the park, hi, little kid in the stroller. And some of them are like, their eyes light up and they're like, they're going to hug me. They're like, yeah, I want to be near you. And some kids are like, I'm afraid, like, mommy. And they cling to their genetic heritage, their ancestral heritage, which is mommy and daddy. There's no judgment here. They're like, I'm afraid of you, lasagna. I cling to what is familiar. There is no judgment here. This is all offered in freedom. No judgment at all. This is also similar to chronological adult humans. Some people who are absolutely embracing the concept of flying rainbow lasagna and transforming beyond their ancestral limitations and moving into new thought structures and exemplifying levels of radical freedom, radical self-responsibility, radical reciprocal responsibility, all of these things that I teach about. And some people say, no, I cling to my ancestral heritage. I cling to my ancestral traumas. I cling to my implanted sense of limitations and the herky-jerky dance that leads me to the membrane of death and the necessity of death and expectation of death. And I allow you and accept you to be who and what you are. This is the beauty of freedom. Once the flying rainbow lasagna was invented in 2001, all of a sudden there opened up a whole new range of genetic dance steps that could be performed by humanity in this time and place. And what that is like saying is, let's say your genetic code is like that book I was telling you about, War and Peace by Leo Tolstoy. It is a book that's already been written and it's done. Like, it's been in print for a long time. It is what it is. It's done. But if you take the flying rainbow lasagna, that would be like saying, we're going to be able to fold the pages. I'm going to fold the pages into this new origami shape so that the whole entire book tells a different story. And I'm not just talking about cut and paste, like I'm going to cut from this chapter over here and, like, rearrange it and edit it in that way. Even more sophisticated than that, literally folding the pages of the book itself so that it folds in on itself. Different levels of time loops and information sit next to each other in the genetic code of you. There's a different time behavior. There's a different way of experiencing time. So I'm not just talking about rearranging the events of your reality. Like, first I had breakfast, then I had dinner, then I had lunch. I'm really talking about you can now backbend and fold yourself and touch on lunch 20,000 years ago. You can now touch on lunch in another star system. You can telepathically touch on consciousnesses that are non-local. The experience of non-locality becomes truthful in your life. Okay, then this also has to do, of course, working from the recorded lesson that I recorded these notes from, that I took these lecture notes from. I did that in 2013. And so, what I wanted to talk about was the changes that have been happening since 2001 up until 2013 when I recorded that lesson. What I wrote was, that meant that all of humanity and all DNA-bearing species on Earth right now and throughout the galaxy would no longer be limited as they have been in the past. This is truthful. So it's not only available to humans. Flying rainbow lasagna is not only available to humans, but it is also available to all of the species that are on this planet, or anywhere throughout the galaxy, or even something that might be a form of a planetary structure, a toroidal structure, a sun-star structure, a light body structure, an atomic structure. Any place where there is a torus, you can make a flying rainbow lasagna. And that is a lot of the structure of reality, including the galaxy itself, herself, himself. The amazing news regarding the flying rainbow lasagna is that the shackles limiting humanity and others throughout all these levels of beingness have been removed. And it's a question of learning how to use the tool, the apparatus that you now have available to you, and how to use or play the instrument and perfecting it. The analogy of that little girl and the violin. You got your violin, you have it in freedom. You got the flying rainbow lasagna. Again, once I created this and had this concept, it is a concept that is at large. It is something that is available. It is like open source code. And P.S., open source code does not mean that you have no recognition or no value. It means that you recognize the originator of the code. In the world of open source computer software, when you say something is open source, it means you don't have to have a daily subscription to it to pay me $10 and you get the flying rainbow lasagna. It's not like that. The thought structure is there. It is available for anyone to use. But what you do is you use it in the recognition of its originator. You say, yeah, this is that guy that wrote that code that's open source that I use every day. This is this person. They created flying rainbow lasagna. The flying rainbow lasagna originated from that moment from Aurora's mind. And now I have taken it and I have woven it into this, or I have used it in this way, and you still give the recognition to the originator of the person that made this. That's what open source is all about. And that, of course, there's the idea that there are profits or benefits that happen that reflect back to the originator. So it's not just like, oh, yoink, I will take that and steal that, disassociate it from you, use it for my own thing. You get no credit, you get no goodness. No, because of course we recognize the interconnectedness of all things. So I have always and continue to offer and share this as a gift, not imposed upon you, but offering it as a gift, in the hopes and requirements and expectation also that my goodness reflects back to me, because it's a pristine system where what you send out comes back to you, amplified, of course. And that there's a goodness that reflects back to me. So all of this in the good news, saying that humanity and the cosmos has available to it a new way of being. That's like saying an instrument, violin or piano, was created and invented. However, collectively, and me as a person, people have still been mastering the technique of playing it and creating music and becoming a genetic virtuoso. I recorded this in 2013. I have changed and transformed a lot in the past 9 years. I have learned a lot about how to embody the flying rainbow lasagna, how it can, I will just read this. And this is highlighted, in my personal experience, the unfoldment of comprehension and continual mysteries of the FRL shape continue to be revealed. From the recording in 2013 to the moment now, new genetic augmentations and transformations of metamorphosis. The way that I can fold the pages of Tolstoy's book to make it be something completely new and different is amazing. The way that I can fold the time-space structure and the human genetic structure is absolutely amazing, and I continue to learn more of that. And I consider really each augmentation to be a gift from God, and a gift from higher consciousness, and a gift from in conjunction with Christ, from Christ, in conjunction with Christ consciousness, really giving glory and recognition to these greatnesses, even as I am embedded within the living time field, greatness to the creator, even as I am creating things, new levels of consciousness structuring and perception, new ways of relating to or moving through or with time. That's the language fails. As I've been doing Flying Rainbow Lasagna more and more, it's not just about moving through time or being embedded with time. It is different ways of relating to time, different ways of embodying time. That's why I bring up the concept of creatorship, open source code. Who created time? Somebody created time. Where did it come from? May the goodness reflect back to that which created time, that whom created time, and the larger time being itself as a larger time animal that is alive itself. All of this beautiful recognition flowing through all these different levels, and a new perspectives on self-state that has to do with the concept of who is time? Time is alive. Who is time? Who and what is my identity as time? Time, genetic strings making up a planet, planetary strings making up a solar systems making up giant galaxies making up beautiful superstructures, and playing amazing music in the Symphony of Life, being an individual musician and also being part of a Symphony of Life, changes in perspective on identity and time. I have to mute you. I love you, thank you. More and more layers of understanding and significance continue to be perceived. The DNA and the nuclei of my cells are all dancing like a flying rainbow lasagna. That is having an impact on all the other beings that exist here on this planet and in other places, because DNA is an antenna. I am dancing the flying rainbow lasagna here, now, in this time space, in this body. I'm affecting all of you in this time space here now, but I'm also affecting all of these beings in the past, all of these beings in the future, beings on Alpha Centauri, beings in another dimension, beings in another galaxy, because DNA is an antenna. It is non-local. DNA as an antenna allows us to tune into a particular reality or parallel reality. DNA determines, of course, which parallel reality you're experiencing in the time vortex over here. It is a bridge between the world of matter and the world of pure light. DNA is a bridge between the world of matter and pure light. World of matter, energy and matter. E equals mc squared. DNA is the bridge, the equals sign. Energy equals matter. DNA is the bridge. Energy equals matter. Energy, DNA, bridge, matter. The two of these things coming together, like two wonderful things that taste wonderful together. And then, of course, the flying rainbow lasagna as a new dance behavior of DNA that bridges together formerly divergent realms, not matter versus energy, matter plus energy. The inside becomes the outside. Your inner world of perception and pure energy and feelings becomes the outer manifested world. Observership, the fifth dimension. Blah, 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 blah. I'll read this all out because I got it all written down. The bridge of consciousness between the fifth dimensional world of pure possibilities and uncollapsed waveforms, and the actual timelines that you can experience in the linear fourth dimensional world of the time vortex. Fifth dimensional, fourth dimensional, not 5D, 5 density, and 4D, 4 density. I actually am learning to despise that whole lingo because I feel like it is so inaccurate. Sometimes it makes me incredibly frustrated, so pardon my frustration on that. But I'm talking about dimensions. The fifth dimension I know we can go into that song by the band called The Fifth Dimension, but the fifth dimension as the reality bakery where there are constituent elements such as flour, water, and the stuff that you make cake batter out of, and then the ovens in front of your eyes of observership that bake that batter into the fourth dimensional breads or timelines that you experience in momentary, moment-to-moment slices, that DNA is a bridge of consciousness between these two levels of being, between your world of pure light body, what I'm pointing to behind me, your coherent light body, and your body of physicality structures around you. The bridge between consciousness, light, time, and a third dimensional embodiment experience is all within DNA. Why did I come here to this planet to buy toilet paper? Because I now have DNA. I own it. It's mine. It's my real estate. I'm embodying it. And it is the bridge between potential and embodiment. I own a translation device that translates potential timelines into experienced realities. It's an amazing vehicle, and you guys have one too. Your DNA is so much more than a blueprint for your physical body. It is the structure of reality. It is the blueprint for what you will be experiencing in a moment-by-moment and day-to-day basis. External events, conversations, experiences all emanate from your DNA, not just the color of your eyes. So I have a new way of changing and shifting and rearranging what DNA is doing. I can change and shift reality. I can change and shift the conversations that we have, the events of the world around me, the way that matter behaves. Literally, the matter of my body does not behave the way that it used to. It behaves in a new way. This is spirit matter that responds directly to thought. It is a different form of matter that I create with my Flying Rainbow Lasagna activities within this body, and I'm allowed to do so according to interdimensional ethics. Your thoughts, emotions, and everything you emanate are affecting everything else. I am here to positively, in accordance with cosmic law, affect everything else. And of course, I'm also reciprocally affected by you. Let me move forward because I'm just getting to the end of this. This is actually all just part one. And I know I started a little late due to my internet connectivity issues. And also I knew I would only do part one. So we just, spoiler alert, are only going to do part one of this level 2 lesson. Part 2 will come next week. Your emanations on a cellular level from the DNA at the level of the nuclei are affecting everyone else. Your dance steps radiate outward and affect everyone else. My dance steps that I am performing as Flying Rainbow Lasagna, even if I did not communicate formally with videos or writing or anything like that, with a paintbrush, would be affecting everyone. This is not an imposition. This is my right as an inhabitant of physical reality and the galaxy. It goes down to the ethical questions. My existence and ability to emanate and affect others is no different than the existence and the journey of any embodied being in this realm, all of whom reciprocally interact with and affect one another with vibrations. Once again, I affirm I'm allowed to be here. I'm allowed to be here as Flying Rainbow Lasagna. I'm allowed to be here affecting you, others, with consciousness, thought waves, feeling waves, lasagna waves, and sending these things out to others. And each person is thinking their own thoughts and dancing with their own unique DNA, which I've said is largely dictated by their ancestral heritage. And you guys are all sending out your unique vibratory signature, which has an impact on the reality around you. And it is each person's choice which DNA dance steps they choose to do. Each person must take responsibility, knowing that what one is sending out is affecting others. So, you begin to become a conscious violin player or a conscious piano player where you are thinking thoughts. You are not in your own private kiddie pool. You are swimming around in the ocean of consciousness. You are sending out emotional realities. You are sending out DNA structures in terms of your health and your vitality, and the reality structures and your expectation of what time events will happen. And this is why I also emphasize Your own personal healing. Let me say this. I had this highlighted. Your own personal inner healing is significant and profound, and it radiates outward and positively affects the world. It is worthy work to focus on, specifically healing of ancestral trauma and inherited DNA thought and behavior patterns, as well as, the trauma that you've accumulated through your own individual life. I talk about this all the time when I do healing work with people, when I do individual sessions with people, when I share the concepts of healing on an ancestral level, when people do vocal toning work. All of this has to do with the recognition that you taking care of you is profound and significant. You're not just like, I'm some stupid little guy and I drive my car and I drink coffee and it doesn't matter what happens to me. No, what happens to you matters. And when you heal you, it matters, literally turns into matter. You emanate outward your individual healing, your individual rectification, your individual new healed dance patterns add up to the accumulated harmonics of the entirety. You make your music better, you make your body healthier, you make your life better. Your personal timeline is weaving within all of these other complex timelines, including the lactobacillus that are in your tummy, helping you to digest your milk or whatever you drank for breakfast in the morning. And your healing is significant. So my applause to you, my recognition to you, all of the work that you do as an individual matters or is significant and profound in terms of your own personal upliftment, your personal, I keep using the word healing, like healing your body, but also healing your emotions, healing your perceptions, healing your expectations, rectifying your timelines. Like, let's say you hate your job, getting a better job, removing emotional blockages, healing from the bad things that happened to you when you were in third grade, healing the bad things that happened to your ancestors who went through a famine or a genocide or whatever bad thing happened to them. All of this matters profoundly because you are a genetic antenna, because your antenna doesn't just pick up this moment now and broadcast to this moment now, broadcast across time, broadcast all throughout different levels of reality. It is each person's choice how they choose to dance with their DNA. Free will as a foundation of the cosmos. This is why I only offer and make available the Flying Rainbow Lasagna and these new ideas and dance movements. I do not force or implant them within you, and it is all offered within freedom. And it is up to each individual to choose how you are dancing. That's literally just part one of this particular level, level two. What am I on? Lesson six. Lesson six. So we will do part two next week. And I also want to tell you, I have something new that's going on that is, I make music every day just as part of my, not only my genetic music, but my literal physical music. I get up in the morning, I'm drinking my coffee, my lactobacillus are digesting my coconut milk or whatever, and I'm making music over here on my piano. And it's a way of communicating beyond words. And I'm beginning sharing that with others too, like on a daily basis. So I'm creating kind of like a music club where if you want to be a part of it, you can get like the access to my song that I send out every day as a way of connecting with me. So I wanted to communicate that to you. I'll share all of that. I mean, that sounds much more mundane than all the much more, like I brought up to this huge cosmic super level that I'm like, oh yeah, by the way, like I got these new songs that I'm doing every day, but by the way, got these new songs I'm doing every day. So please keep that in mind, because literally music is one way that I send out and broadcast these positive lasagna frequencies, and that it is absolutely about the consensual nature, meaning in consent, of communicating and interacting telepathically, energetically, and on other levels. Let me just read this very briefly. Trisha wants to know, is recognition a universal law, like the idea of the open source code bouncing back? I don't know universal law, but let's say perhaps a universal politeness. Like maybe it is like maybe it is a law in the sense of what you send out comes back to you, because I'm always giving credit to the great creator. Like I'm in an art studio, but somebody invented the paintbrush, somebody invented the paints, somebody invented time. I'm in a great art studio of time, and I'm making stuff out of time and timelines and dimensionality. Somebody invented time. that person has to receive the credit, the gratitude, the love reflected back to them. What an amazing thing to do. And then within that smaller system, I'm like, oh yeah, within that smaller system, I created this thing. And I love to have respect, gratitude, and other things reflected back to me. So I would say, yes, maybe it goes down to like the idea of love, and what you send out comes back to you. You also ask, can we know more maybe another time about interdimensional ethics? I will absolutely get more into it in part 2. And healing expectation, rectifying timelines. This is so good. Thank you for everything that you're saying. So yeah, today was a difficult, challenging day in terms of my internet connectivity not working that well, feeling hugely beset by negative thought forms that are like, we hate your lasagna music, stop playing your lasagna music. But they are not allowed to stop me. They can simply move away from me while I am in this presence doing this thing. And I did end up being able to do a good recording of this, which I feel to be hugely, hugely important information. That is literally why I'm here in this planetary structure and in this body to share this stuff. People also sometimes want to know, will you actually teach me how to do the lasagna dance? Yes. As I move through the semester, we get into the actual specifics. Like, you sometimes might see me moving my hands and doing different things. And it's like, yes, there are actual real dance steps of the things that you're doing, but then also it is all innovations in the moment. So a great part of learning to play the genetic violin and the piano is about innovation in the moment, innovation and collaboration. That's why I say jamming, like jazz partnership. With the musicians that are at large, the sun, the stars, the galaxy, microbes, planets, atoms, quantum realities. You are collaborating in a jazzy superstructure with all of these things. So that is a big part of it. So I'm going to stop the recording for right now. I thank you so much to everybody who is here physically. I know some people have been having some connectivity issues also here physically at the same time, and also to everybody who's in the class and anybody who is accessing this at a later time. You still get all the telepathic downloads if you want them, don't worry. It waits in your telepathic inbox until you're there ready to connect. And I thank you to everyone who's in the class and who continues to be on board for all of these teachings, because now you understand, I think, more of my journey as a person and who I am and what it is like to be here as Aurora and as Flying Rainbow Lasagna. Like, I came here through a genetic portal. I invented this. I have a wonderful thing to share. I have a wonderful new way of using the human genetic instrument, and it is ethical for me to embody it and to offer it to you and not to impose it upon you, and to make it available to you. And then it is also up to you to choose to learn it, choose to embody it, choose to practice it, choose to make it your own. One of these expressions in artistic reality, I think it was Picasso, he said, steal from the best and then make it your own. Yes, that is what you want to do. You want to be inspired by other artists or musicians, and then make it your own. Please take the Flying Rainbow Lasagna as my particular song, melody, and embody it and think about it and make it your own. It must be applied uniquely to your own unique genetic code, genetic diversity. Remember, I just talked about that, to your own life path, to your own unique heritage, to your own unique trajectory of where you're going in the future. Please be an artist of your own reality. Please learn and grow through doing your own spiritual practices and following your own heart and your own innate divine connection. And please embody and build those spiritual muscles by becoming the embodiment of yourself. And what I can do on this spiritual marathon is I can run with you, be like, come on, everybody, let's get running. We're like swimming like a pod of dolphins. Let's fly, let's run. I can make music, I can send it out to you, I can inspire you, I can encourage you, I can be like, good job, you are really running. Like, let's do it. Let's lasagna, everyone, let's do it. And then, of course, the recognition and goodness from your own journey always is your own. Like, you moved your own arms and legs, you ran that marathon, you did that, you changed, you transformed, you metamorphosed in your life. That is the way that this is all supposed to be. So I thank you. That's why I always thank you also. I thank you for listening. I thank you for exposing yourself to my music. I thank you so much to those who embrace and love my music. As I've been here for 20 years, some people are like, Aurora, like, we love your shirt, we love your painting, we love your music. we love learning from you. And that means everything to me. And because I love it, that's the goodness is reflected back to me that I'm sending out to others. And then also when people take these ideas and use it to positively heal and transform in their own life, that I really get so happy when I see that. I'm like, yes, good on you. Well done. You are running the marathon of life. And then also, in terms of the larger scale back unity consciousness perspective, I was talking about like learning the lessons of we are all connected. I am also super excited because when I see others running on the marathon of life and doing flying rainbow lasagna and transforming and moving in more positive directions, I'm like, that benefits me too. I am part of you, and your journey absolutely affects the larger time field. And I get so happy when I see you moving in positive directions, because it really is a sense of everyone and everything leveling up, and the entire sun and stars leveling up, and all molecules of light leveling up, going everywhere in a positive direction. So I think that is a really good way of ending on this note. And yes, I always thank you for for being a part of my ideas, for being a part of what I send out, for being receptive to what I have to share. And gifts are exchanged. I send out things to you and I receive things from you. That's real unity consciousness, and that's real reciprocal partnership and learning and growing from each other. And then, yes, I also look forward to continually communicating with you and sharing more good stuff with you, and more nice, good things that I can share with you and that you can reflect back to me, and hearing your emanations coming from you and your unique journey, because I have learned a lot and received so much goodness and so much love from the other people that surround me on my journey. Because now I have beautiful flying rainbow lasagna people clustered around me. You're like, the attraction. We have attracted positive reality bubbles to each other, and then we keep each other afloat in positive reality structure. So that's a really good note to end upon. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, and I send out love to all of you. Thank you.